Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Aristius. So, I was going to make a Sage World Battlefield video, but then I realized it was Monday, and there is no Sage World Battlefield. So instead, what I'm going to do is make a video talking about the new kid on the block, which is the 5 Kage treasure. I'm going to go over each of the ninja in there and give you a general idea of their power level, how strong they are, where they fit in the meta, stuff like that. Um, I can't go over every single thing about every ninja because the video would be like 4 hours long. But I'm going to give you just a general idea of what I think, and it doesn't mean that they can't be used in a way that I haven't thought of or that makes them stronger in some people's minds, because some people are going to disagree with this, obviously. All I have the capability of doing is giving you my thoughts and my ideas about it. Now, I did make a thread in the forums about it, and this is kind of just going to be not a rehashing, but like an update of it. Now that we've had Kage Treasure for a little while, people have polled, we've seen a lot of interactions with fighting against other people, stuff like that. I'm also going to avoid the super rares because while they're very powerful, obviously, the price to performance of the ninja is very low. So let's say like if you spend 60 seal scrolls and you get Mei, the fifth Mizukage, really strong character, right? It would cost you, if it cost you another 900 or whatever to get the fourth Raikage or Susanoo Sasuke, that's a whole lot of seal scrolls. You could spend your ingots or your coupons or whatever the case may be on other things with your Mei, and you would actually be stronger than the person that spent all the seal scrolls on the ninja, on the super rare ninja. Doesn't mean they're bad ninja. Doesn't mean you shouldn't get them if you have the capability of getting them. But the if you're like a mid tier or mid to even high tier paying player, you really want to consider price to performance, and that's when you start considering things like events and rebates and stuff like that. Like you should never refine unless it's the refine event. You should never do your battle armor unless you get the battle armor rebates, stuff like that. So it's good to know where things stand price performance wise, and I think all the rares in here, the regular rares, are pretty good. The only one would consider not great is Chojiro, and we're actually going to start with Chojiro. Well, I don't know Chojiro. No. Okay, so Chojiro. Chojiro's really awkward. Like he if his standard was exactly what it said, if it attacked three random bodies, he'd be great. Instead, he attacks up to three people that are in the front. So if you have like a three stack team and then a one person by himself, he's only gonna hit one person twice, which is essentially the same thing as any of the other ninjas that or the sword ninjas that have two attacks. It doesn't really do that much. He gets a little better in things like ranked battle and Sage World, or not Sage World, Great Ninja War, because there's always going to be at least three targets. Because even if they have three stack, three stack, three stack, there's still three targets in the front. So he gets a little better that way. But he's at his worst, he's a terrible like Zabuza, because his mystery is okay, but it's not great. It's kind of weird the way it works. He's got the three attacks. He's got a really terrible passive, and he's just got the one chase, which does kind of work pretty well with 1010, Great Ninja War 1010. But if you're using Great Ninja War 1010, you don't want to be using Chojiro because Chojiro isn't the damage dealer anymore. It's 1010. Now you're trying to use Chojiro as like a support utility kind of character, and that's not what he's meant for. He's meant to be a damage character, but he's not good enough as a damage character to be great. I give Kaiser a lot of crap for him. It doesn't mean he's bad. You can use him in a situation where you have like a heavy mystery character in your first position, and then two utility characters or support characters, and then use Chojiro as like your consistent damage. So every turn you know you're having this consistent damage from Chojiro. I just don't think he's the person to use for that. If you have, especially if you have like Sailor Sakura, Sailor Sakura essentially does the same thing. It's way tankier, way safer to put her in front. She hits more people. If you're running the poison tie, she's going to poison every turn, and she gets. If you don't have an ignite, she's pretty much impossible to kill. I think in most cases there are ninjas better, even in the particular role that Chojiro would be good. You can find a better ninja. Let's see who's next. We're gonna do Killer Bee and then Mifune. I actually own Killer Bee, so we'll just do Killer Bee here. Killer Bee is way better than people give him credit for. He's kind of awkward now because there's not a whole lot of tailed beasts. I know the word, but I can't pronounce it for whatever reason, so I'm just going to say tailed beasts. Um, there's Sage Naruto, there's the Naruto Nine Tails if you have him 3-starred, and there's Gaara. The first incarnation of Gaara is terrible, and then you have Kazekage Gaara, which is okay. But if you're using Kazekage Gaara, you're probably not going to use Killer Bee because there's not a whole lot of reason to use Killer Bee. You have plenty of shields with Gaara with his stage change and all that. So I can't really see a reason why you would use him in that particular sense. However, you can use him with other ninjas, and I've actually already got this queued up, that have really good standard attacks. And you get to double up on those standard attacks every round. And since it lasts 2 rounds, it means that you essentially give another ninja 2 standard attacks per turn for as long as the fight is going, because it's a 2 cooldown ability on Yo, which is Killer Bee's mystery. So if I were to go with this particular team, I would just give it to Sailor Sakura. Now she's using her Katsuya attack, hitting 4 people, not subject to defense, and doing it twice per turn, which is a lot of damage. And it's something you have to react to. And if you don't have Ignite, you may not be able to react to Sakura at all because she's really hard to kill with her reserve seal. Sorry, I almost said shield. Or something like Sasori 100 Puppets. Now, Sasori is a super rare, and I will tell you right now, you should not go for Sasori 100 Puppets. He's not good. He gets buffed later in China, and we're gonna get a buff at some point for Sasori. And the reason why it is because he wasn't good enough as a super rare. All the other super rares have at the very least like a niche that they're really good at. Sasori gets pretty much significantly buffed later, but right now, even with that, whenever he does a standard move, he summons 1 to 2 gimmick puppets. So if you were to put Killer Bee on him, then he would summon 2 to 4 every turn, which is a pretty big deal. Plus he's healing each of your puppets and himself with his first passive. The more puppets that are out, it makes him harder to kill. Right now, he's probably the strongest he's been because there's nobody that's really running fire anymore. Fire kind of took a big hit with the Kage. There's pretty much nothing in fire except Danzo. So there's things you can do like that. If you have Sage Naruto, you can run Sage Naruto. Then he's getting 2 guaranteed big hits. Sage Naruto's standard does hit really hard. Or things like just the Earth Main. The Earth Main puts a shield on 2 people. You're getting 2 shields now every single turn, and it makes your Killer Bee is already pretty tanky because he can't be debuffed. He heals a little bit, etc. Like Killer Bee is a lot better than people give him credit for, and you can fit him in pretty much every team or pretty much any team, and you don't even need to worry about the Tailed Beast buff because he buffs himself at the very least. You don't need to stack a whole bunch of them. He's really there for the Yo prompt, or the Yo mystery, and when the next big ninja, event ninja that will get released will actually be Hanzo, but after that it's Cursed Hidan, and I don't want to spoil anything, but when Cursed Hidan comes out, Killer Bee and Cursed Hidan are best buddies forever, for the rest of the game, because it's that insane. So let's go with next. I forgot who it was. Mifune. I actually own Mifune too. Let's see, where is he? I don't know where he is. We're just gonna... There we go. So Mifune, I think is how you actually say his name. He's really good. Like, he's got a... People kind of look at these buffs and they're like, yeah, it's something I've seen before. It's just another buff. And yeah, it can go across ninja teams, which is kind of cool. But it's not just like the buffs that transcend the element type. So things like sword, it doesn't matter what element the character is. If has a sword, it gets the buff. They're kind of stronger, and they get stronger in things like Great Ninja War and Ranked Battle. There are a bunch of sword-bearing ninjas that come out relatively soon. Well, I don't want to say relatively soon, but there's ones that are coming out in the near future. Even Kirstadan, who I just hinted at, is a sword-bearing ninja, and giving him a whole bunch of extra attack and ninjutsu is a pretty big deal. He's got 2 attacks around, which, like Chojiro, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. He's got a pretty good chase. I really like the chases that chase something and they cause the same thing that they chased, because it's very easy to link that kind of stuff most of the time. His mystery is very good. It's ninjutsu damage to the entire team, causes knockdown. It only disperses buffs on the target. At first I was like, wow, okay, it disperses buffs on the entire team, and that's pretty good. I think even if it did that, he wouldn't be like overpowered. I think he would be where he needs to be, but it only does it on the specific target you hit. He's immune to interruption, which is important. Usually you're going to see him with lightning mains, because lightning main again can buff sword ninja, and it doesn't matter what element they are. And if you have the root warrior passive on lightning main, now you're immune to debuffs and interruption with Mifune's skill, which means that there's no way to stop his skill. You can't CC him out of it, you can't interrupt him out of it. It doesn't matter what happens, he's going to use his skill. And that can be really important, because if you have the sword killing jutsu or whatever the passive is, it's the middle second passive for lightning, which buffs sword ninjas, but a lot of people don't realize that it also has that clause where if you kill something with a mystery, that mystery is automatically reset. And this includes things like clones, puppets, whatever. So if you're running the Mifune team with Lightning Main and you use Mifune, and you do a bunch of damage to the whole team, you kill buffs on one target, and you kill a puppet, well, now your mystery is off cooldown. You can use it again the very next turn, which could be really powerful if you just start chaining them off. Normally it's used with to great effect with Susanoo Sasuke, but this works just as well. It's pretty good. He's kind of awkward that he's Earth, but aside from that, he's pretty good. He works well with Killer Bee 2. Killer Bee's another sword ninja. He's already got 2 attacks. You can put another one on for 3, but it's kind of like, at that point, why would you do it? I'd rather put extra attacks on Chojiro, and I hate Chojiro. At least he can like splash damage. Ideally, or in an ideal situation, he can splash damage. But he's not that bad. Like, you can fit him in Lightning Main with Chojiro or with Killer Bee or with any of the sword ninjas, and he's good. But he's gonna get better when the new ninjas come out. Let's see. What's next? Darui, Danzo, Gara, Mei, Anuki. So all the stage changers are the last ones, right? There's no other rares. Good. That's actually the way I wanted to do it. Danzo, who I own as well. I only own 4 of the ninjas, so. But Danzo is the first of the stage changers, and the stage changers are the big deals of the pack. They're the things that really change things. Their price to performance is really, really high. It's higher than even the super. I mean, pretty much all the rares are higher than the super rares, but they're pretty much the highest price to performance ninja you're gonna see at all. For 60 seal scrolls, you can get one of these, if you're lucky, one of these stage changers, and it's basically putting out an automatic barrier that's giving you a buff to whatever particular type of team you built, which can be really, really important. So we'll start at the very bottom. He has Ambition as one of his passives. Actually, one of his passives. So he recovers 10 chakra points and 6 life in the case of a unit's death. It can triggered 6 times each round. You're probably not going to trigger it 6 times a round, so it doesn't matter that much that it has that clause. But there are interesting things you can do with that. You can put him with some of the other Sage Ninja, because it's essentially a Sage, like chakra regain stuff. You can put him with things like Kasame. He doesn't really work well because he buffs lightning and fire, but there are interesting little combos that you can do with that. So you gain chakra, you gain health back, and then you're gaining chakra, so Kasame heals, stuff like that. It's just a nice little thing. It helps you get more chakra. Any kind of extra chakra gain is always good, and it's especially good in ranked and Great Ninja War. So his only chase is like essentially the same as Maze. It's got a chase something, cause knockdown, immobile. They have different chase and different cause, but the fact that they both cause immobile means that you can make your main characters or your main damage dealers mystery cause immobile to a target on the second turn, which can cancel out their mystery, which is really important. So anything that can essentially immobilize every single turn is a big deal. I mean, you guys have done probably Ninja Exam and had to use Shikamaru or Ino or something like that. Like, that's how powerful it can be. So then he's got his barrier. He's got the fire and lightning buffs for 40% while it's activated. But the big thing is he's probably got the strongest passive version of a barrier. Because all the barriers do something special if the barrier's up at all. He causes chaos on one enemy individual each round. And chaos is probably the most important CC that we have, because not only is it basically an immobilize, but it's causing damage to the enemy team too. So you're stopping them from doing something, but in addition to that, you're also causing them to do damage to their own team, which is a pretty big deal. And if you keep your barrier up for 3 rounds, you're going to carry something every single round for 3 rounds, which, if you chaos the right thing, could just straight win you the fight. Like, I've had fights where I chaos their rank or their position 1 character 3 times in a row with Danzo, and it's random, but it's like, okay, yeah, what are you gonna do now? Because you can't do anything. Let's see. His standard's pretty good. It's basically Chojiro standard. You only get the 1 version of it. You don't get 2 attacks with it, but it's even got the same tool or the same like picture. It's basically that. It's fine. It combos well with his own chase, which is something that a lot of the other ones don't do. So he can proc his own chase by himself. You don't need to worry about that too much. Then his mystery is Izanagi. This one's a little different. You basically put a Izanagi buff on anybody you select on your team, and that ninja, if it dies, it doesn't die. It's not a res. It's nothing like that. If it would die, instead it gets healed to 80% life, which it seems awkward, but it does a lot of interesting things. So not only does it, if you, let's say you do it on Sakura, and Sakura's got her heal mystery like prompt up, it's ready to go, but she gets killed beforehand. She doesn't actually get killed. She gets sent back to 80% life, and her mystery doesn't get canceled that way. She still has her mystery prompt up because she's not actually getting killed. It can be really powerful, especially if you get to the point where you have 1 or 2 ninja left, they have 1 or 2 ninja left. They probably don't have enough damage to get through your Izanagi every time it's up. Like, they're going to be like, okay, I got to kill this character, and then they try and kill this character, and then you're just like, Izanagi, and it's healed back to 80% health, and eventually you should be able to win the fight. But you have to get to that point for it to happen. With the formation system coming up, it gets stronger, because the formation system, you have the ability to put ninja in like the front position where they get a bunch of health. It actually depends on the formation. There's like 5 or 6 different formations you can use, but if you have your formation system pretty high, and you put a character in the front, you can have like your for example, we on the Kaiser stream we talked about the water main that has 27,000 health. It's not because he has crazy Magatama or anything. It's just because that water main's in the first position. And when you're when you're healing something, essentially it's a heal. If you're healing something for 80% of life, if you're doing it for 10,000 health, yeah, that's pretty good. It's 8k. If you're doing it for 30,000 health, that's a whole lot more health. I don't know how else to put it. 24,000 health. It's more. There's more value in Izanagi that way. Also, with the formation system, you can put characters in the back and get more damage, which means you can go a more glass cannon-y approach to the game, which means you can protect your glass cannon damage dealer a lot better with Izanagi. The only problem with him right now is that he doesn't fit well into. You don't want to really use him with the lightning, because if you have your choice with lightning, you want to use Derwy instead. And he's better with fire, but he's probably the best in the ideal situation, which is you're using Susanoo Sasuke, and Danzo, like Garuka and him. I can't remember the exact team, but that's the team where you would use Danzo instead. And we're gonna do Derwy. I do not own Derwy, so don't worry. That's the end of the characters I own. Derwy is probably the best stage changer. He's not like a powerhouse, but you don't necessarily need your stage changer to be your powerhouse. Um, so the reason why he's probably the best is he's got water and lightning, which are two of the stronger elements right now. He also has really good chases. So he has a chase that's high float to repulse, it's the same as Trajiro's, which synergizes really well with 10-10. 10-10 happens to be water. You get 40% water from the Gale style barrier, whatever it's called, which is really good. But he also has the 10 combo, so he's got two chases on a stage character, which is something we don't have before. And generally speaking, two chases is better than one, but this one's actually really good because it's a 10 or more combo, and you hit Paralysis on 3 random enemy bodies, and Paralysis, sorry. So you hit Paralysis, that's your character's not doing anything, you're not comboing or anything like that, and you can consistently do this every turn, especially if you're running Lightning main, because you have the Lightning Spear, which essentially gives you high combo by itself with any combo that goes to high float. The standard's not that big of a deal. He actually has the worst barrier passive, which is launch an extra attack by itself around. If the barrier's up, he gets 2 attacks. It's not that big of a deal. It's not as good as Chaos. It's not as good as Poison, stuff like that. Then he has a pretty good mystery on his own. He's got a double attributed attack 7 people and cause lightning and paralysis up to 7 people. It's pretty good. He's never going to be like your in my group we call them like world breakers. He's not going to be a world breaker, but if you get to, you're never going to be like unhappy about using his mystery either. So it's not that bad. He's probably the best stage changer though. I'd put him in that category, even above Mei, even though Mei's a world breaker, quote unquote. Then we're gonna do Inoki. Inoki is a little different. So his barrier, instead of having a passive on his barrier, essentially his barrier just does 3 attributes. So he gives you, the stage changers as a whole are utility type characters, and he's giving you the most utility out of all of it, which is you can use Earth, Wind, or Fire, which is great. The problem is you already have a character that does Earth and Wind with a barrier, which is Gaara. So if you're using an Earth or Wind team, you probably want to use Gaara instead. If you're using a Fire, you probably want to use Danzo instead. The only situation where you probably want to use like Inoki over anybody else is if you're using Fire and either Earth or Wind. So you have to use Fire, that's mandatory, and then either Earth or Wind as well. You're probably using Earth anyway if you're using Inoki, but I don't think there's any Fire ninjas currently that you'd want to use with Inoki. But if you happen to have them, you're not going to be unhappy about them. Like, yeah, I'm not saying you should draw for Gaara if you have Inoki already. Inoki will do it, but I think Gaara's better as a whole. He has a chase, which is knockdown to high float. That's fine. He's got a passive before the first action in each round. He gives 1 extra standard attack to a ninja at random. It's the same as one of the Earthmain passives. It's really good. It's just a free action, essentially. He's got a standard, which is pretty good. It attacks, causes interruption. The interruption part is almost never going to come into play because it has to be a non-prompt skill for it to matter. He has a chance of causing repulse, which is fine. It doesn't combo with his own chase, but that's not that big of a deal. You'll probably work that in somewhere. He has a low chance of failing his attack, which is always funny to see. The people are always like, "Oh yeah, he has a chance to fail. He has a chance to fail." Yeah, but he's every turn he's definitely giving an extra standard attack to somebody. So even if he failed every single turn, he's still breaking even on a standard attacks. And he doesn't have, it's a lower chance of backache, so you're gonna come ahead in total standard attacks over time. So he's definitely worth it. Don't look at that and be like, oh, he's not worth it. His particle style atomic dismantling jutsu is one of the coolest jutsus in the anime, by the way. But it causes 3 types of damage. It hits 9 bodies of the enemy team, causes a knockdown. If you happen to kill something, it's not resurrected, which can be useful, especially when we start getting into the tailed beast where they just keep coming back. But it costs 40, which is a big deal. For 40 chakra, you're hitting 9 people with a fairly damaging ability. I mean, it's not a world breaker or anything like that. It's not a Tendo, it's not a Mei, it's nothing like that. But being able to consistently hit 9 people in like Great Ninja Warrior ranked for 40 chakra is definitely a big deal, and you shouldn't overlook that. I think he's probably like the third or fourth strongest stage changer on his own, but that doesn't mean he's bad either. I don't think any of the stage changers are technically bad. I think the only character in this pack that's bad is Chojiro. That's just my opinion. So we're gonna do Gaara and we'll do Mei last. Gaara, the 5th Kazekage. So start at the bottom again. High float to knock down, immobilize. Any of the chases that have immobilize, really good. You have a built-in CC. He has these sand style barrier sand hell. I don't know why it's called that, but sand hell. Oh, and what I want to say about Onoki, his stage change, if you haven't seen it yet, it's the coolest looking one. You're actually in the little cube he makes. But anyway, so Gaara is Earth and Wind, like I said, and his special ability for the passive is he applies 2 shields to your own team every round. So it's essentially you're getting a free Earth main shield standard every round that this barriers up, which is really strong. Especially if you put him with Earth main, you're going to have a hard time if you don't have debuffs getting through those shields that are constantly being generated before he gets to his mystery, and we'll talk about that in a second. So he has super armor. He's immune to all combos, which is always a good thing. If you fought against the Earth main anytime in the last, since the game started, it's pretty annoying that they put their character that's immune to super armor or immune to combos in front. And it's just like, okay, well, that happened, so you got to rely on something else. And now he's got shields, so now you can't even burst him down with mysteries. So you gotta use damage over time effects in a combination with mysteries, and somehow get by the character. It's a whole big thing. So he's really good in that regard. He's very tanky. He has a chance with his standard to cause high float, which means he can proc his own chase, which are always good. And his mystery is the first 80 cost mystery that we've seen, and it's definitely world breaker quality. It hits very hard, and it hits up to 9 people, so it's not going to hit everybody like Tendo's. It's not going to it's still hitting the same amount of people as Anoki's, but it costs twice as much chakra. And rule of thumb is if it costs more chakra, either it's going to do something very utility-wise, or if it's just straight damage, it's going to do more damage than the other skill. And it's world breaker quality, to the point where if you're playing Gaara, you either want to play like a shield-based team to where inevitably you get to the point where you just sand burial their entire team every other turn, and it's okay. Or you can use something like Mabui. That way you guarantee that you're going to have, or you essentially guarantee you're going to have 80 chakra on turn 2. You can actually do it so that you have 80 chakra on turn 1 going into turn 2, but you have to use Gaara, Sage, one of the Sage characters, Mabui, and then whatever main you want. So you gain 60 chakra plus the 20 you had, and you have Sand Burial guaranteed going into turn 2, which is not a bad idea. You won't have a whole lot of synergy other than being able to bury everybody on turn 2, but hitting 9 people for that much damage is always good. And last is Mei. Mei is Bay. Did I spell her name wrong? What the hell? No, I didn't. Okay. So Mei. Mei is probably the second best. She's probably the strongest overall character, and probably definitely the strongest overall stage changer. She's probably the strongest overall character as well in the pack. That doesn't mean she's the best. She's not the best stage changer because she doesn't provide enough utility like Derwy does, but overall her strength is probably at the highest. She has a chase that knockdown to low float and a mobile. Like I said, anything that causes a mobile and a chase is great. She has a barrier for water and fire. She causes poison to two enemy individuals around, which is always good, especially when you're stacking it with her ignite stuff as well. She's water, so you're probably going to play with the whole poison thing anyway. So you start stacking these things up, and Earth is generally the counter to water, but not really. Like, they get the bonus damage, but you can bypass their shields with the damage over time stuff, so it's interesting how that works. She has a passive charm, increases damage to male characters by 25%, which is just great. Like, she has essentially, she's, well, what the, okay. Essentially, she's going to increase your damage through the barrier and increase your damage to male characters through a passive, which is awesome. A friend of mine tested this and said that it doesn't affect your male characters on your team, which I would have figured it did, but apparently it doesn't. I've never played with May before. I got her today, or got her when the Kage Treasure came out. But being 25% damage plus the 40% is a big deal. It's basically Hashirama level power without having to wait for the barrier to come up. Like, just straight out the gate, you got the 40% plus 25%, which is a whole lot of damage. You have the water whip flowing, or water style flowing whip. Standard attack has a chance to cause knockdown and acupuncture. Knockdown can trigger her chase, which is great. She triggers herself, but she has the added acupuncture thing, which can be really important. Like, randomly you can acupuncture their Earth Main or whatever on turn 1, and now they can't use their skill for 3 turns, which is always great. Then she has a mystery. Our mystery hits 7 people. It's 2 elements. Most of these are 2 elements, but it's water and fire. It causes ignition, and it causes low float. It only hits 7 people, costs 60 chakra, but it's world breaker quality. So she doesn't quite do as much damage as Tendo, but she causes I can't talk tonight. Ignition. So she causes ignition, and she has the 2 attributes. So if you happen to be weak to one of the attributes, she'll do about as much damage as Tendo, plus all those characters will be on fire. So between the fire damage, between the attribute damage and everything, she will do potentially more damage than Tendo. Albeit only against 7 targets and not everybody in the world, but she's very, very good. She is world breaker quality. And there's a couple other things I want to talk about with the barriers. So in Great Ninja War in particular, if you have 3 of the same stage changers, it does not matter whose barrier is up. Everybody's going to get the same bonuses to attributes, and like if we have 3 Mays and mine's the fastest, the other 2 Mays are still going to be able to cause poisoning to 2 enemy individuals each round, because it doesn't matter whose barrier it is, as long as it's on your side. As long as there's a Smart Fog Jutsu out on the field, all 3 of them will do poisoning to 2 enemy individuals each round. It's the same way with things like Gaara. So Gaara puts 2 shields on friendly team. Well, if you have 3 Gaaras, all 3 of them are going to do that, even though you're overriding each other's barriers. It doesn't matter whose it is, which can be important, and that's one of the reasons why Inoki's probably the weaker one, or the second to weakest one, because he doesn't have any of that extra stuff. But the fact that he can hit 9 people on turn 2 is great anyway. So yeah, I think that's everybody. It is everybody. I'm not going to go over the Itachi, Sasuke, or Ai, because if you have them, you were already set on getting them anyway. But their price to performance is really low. Everybody else's is really high. Even Chojiro's is much higher than them. If you were to put like a percentage on him, I would think that it'd be worth more not to. Now, you do get some rebate on that. I don't want to say it's just like, because you're not spending just for that character, you're getting all these other characters as well before you get to the character. But I would say that unless you're dead set on getting one of those characters, I wouldn't worry too much about it, and if you do, well, great. But that is going to be it for me. I'm just going to go over I just went over the 5 Kage treasure, and tomorrow I guess we'll do general power. I guess people were asking about Magatamas and Earth, or 8 inner gates and stuff like that, and we can go over that tomorrow and see what's going on. Plus I'll do the Sage World Battlefield. But thank you guys for watching. Take it easy.